Well, students, so far we have discussed geometrical isomerism in configurational as a part of configurational isomer. Now, today in this clip, we will discuss optical isomerism. Optical isomerism, right? So, as the name of this manifested that there is some relation with the light. That's why the word optical is used here. So, see, optical isomers have same molecular formula. Optical isomers and isomerism, they have same molecular formula. Right? Same molecular formula, same connectivity, of atoms, but have different behavior. They have different behavior towards plane polarized light, right? So, how optical isomers can be differentiated? Optical isomers have same molecular formula, have same connectivity of atoms, but they have different behavior towards plane polarized light. So in physics, I think all of you have gone through all these properties, how light behaves and how light propagates in a medium, and what is the behavior of light. Everything I think all of you gone through, and hopefully all the concepts related to light is clear. So I will not much talk about the behavior of light, how it travels. I am just taking the result of those discussions, and I will proceed. See, the normal light vectors, in light there are electric and magnetic vectors are there. So the normal light vectors, they oscillate in all the directions like this, right? So this is the normal light. Vectors, they oscillate in all the directions. And suppose that we have passed this light through a polarizer. Polarizer is a kind of material or instrument, you can say. They have a polarizing axis. Suppose that the polarizing axis is this. So they make other vibrations opaque. This is the propagation. This is the polarizing axis, right? In the polarizer. This is polarizer. This is polarizer. And every polarizer have a polarizing axis. So along this axis, only light vectors are passed, and other which are those vibrations which are perpendicular or in any angle with respect to this axis, they becomes opaque. So we are getting here this kind of light in which the the plane of polarization is a single plane, means in one plane the light vectors are vibrating, and this axis, this this axis is called axis of polarization. Axis of polarization, right? Axis of polarization. This axis. This axis is called axis of polarization. So, and this type of light is called plane polarized light, right? So, optical isomers have different behavior towards this light, not towards this light. So, optical isomers have same molecular formula, but they have same molecular formula, same connectivity, but they have different behavior towards plane polarized light. Which kind of behavior? See, different behaviors here I have mentioned the behavior. Which kind of behavior? Rotation of plane of plane polarized light. Means optical isomers rotate the plane of plane polarized light in a different manner, right? So one thing is clear, that the optical isomers have different behavior towards plane polarized light. It was observed that many substances such as quartz crystal, right, and organic compounds like camphor, and tartaric acid rotate the plane of plane polarized light, right? Such substances are called optically active compounds, and optically active compounds or substance optically active. No need to write for that. So, like quartz crystal, camphor, compounds like camphor, tartaric acid, they have ability to rotate the plane of plane polarized light, and such compounds are said to be optically active compound. So we can say that the optical activity, it is one of the property of matter. This is one of the property of matter, and which property? This property related to the constitution, because every molecule or every substance, every matter is not optically active. Every matter has not this ability. So the matter, the property of matter which is related to this optical activity, this is called constitutional property of matter, and this is very important property. So not every matter has this ability that it can rotate the plane polarized light, right? See, suppose that here we have taken tartaric acid crystal, camphor crystal. Suppose that we take the solution of these. Here we have quartz crystal. So this is in solid state. We have observed this property first time. And after that, the same has been observed in solution as well. And you know, for this observation and discovery of this property in solution, Van 't Hoff was awarded Nobel Prize, first Nobel Prize of Chemistry in 1901. So this is very important property of matter. So not only this property is not only limited to the solid crystal of molecule or matter, the property remains same even in the solution. Which property remains same? Optical activity. The property of rotation of plane polarized light is retained by the molecules in the solution. Means it is clear that this property is related to the molecule, directly related to the molecule, not with the solvent molecule or with any other neighboring molecule. This is not the property of matter which is in aggregation of matter. Remember, this is not the property of aggregated molecules. This is the property of molecule, individual molecule, which it retains even in molecular state when their neighboring molecules are not there. Like in solid, all molecules are compactly bonded, they are very close to each other, and if any property is observed in crystal as well as in the solution, means that property is solely related to the molecule. This is not the property which is associated with the aggregation of molecules. So one thing is clear, that the optical activity, this is related to the molecule. I mean it is the property of molecule. So suppose that you have a plane polarized light like this, and you have passed in such solution. Let it the solution of A is a molecule, and we have taken the solution A in water, and if this is passed through this solution and it is observed from here. So after observation, what you are getting, if this plane polarized light is rotated by, this is the axis of polarization. So from this axis of polarization, let the plane is rotated by angle theta. So this is clockwise rotation, which clockwise. So such type of compounds, which have ability to rotate the plane polarized light in the clockwise direction, they are said to be what? Dextro-rotatory. What they are said to be? Dextro-rotatory. They have ability to rotate the plane polarized light in the clockwise. So they are said to be dextro-rotatory, right? So such type of compounds are said to be dextro-rotatory. Represented by small d or with the plus sign. Right? Dextro-rotatory, small d, strictly small d. Don't write capital D, because capital D has some different meaning. So they are said to be dextrorotatory, right? So if and this compound A is called optically active. Optically active. Similarly, if any molecule has ability to rotate the plane of plane polarized light in the counterclockwise. So this is the axis of polarization, and if it rotates counterclockwise, anti-clockwise, excuse me, anti-clockwise, right? Suppose that a compound B is here, B in water, we have taken this solution. So the compound B is called levorotatory. What is called? Levorotatory. Or small l minus. So this is the designation of optically active compound, and this is also said to be optically active. Optically active. Suppose that we have a third kind of compound, and we have passed through the solution, let it be C in water, and after observation, we have found there is no change in the vibration plane. This is the axis of polarization. So there is no change in the neither clockwise nor counterclockwise, and thus this compound C, which is in a pure state, so this is not a mixture, so this is called optically inactive, right? So such type of compounds are said to be optically inactive. So optical activity is basically the rotation of plane polarized light, right? Now see how this optical rotation or angle of rotation, what is this theta? Theta is called angle of rotation. Theta is called angle of rotation. Angle of rotation, right? So angle of rotation basically depends on the various factors. This theta, whether it is clockwise or counterclockwise, so this may be theta dash, you can take this. So this is called angle of rotation, and this angle of rotation depends on various factors, right? So this measurement of this optical activity is made by an instrument known as polarimeter, right? So the measurement of the determination of optical activity optical activity is done by an instrument known as polarimeter, right? So polarimeter, through polarimeter, we can measure the angle of rotation. See, I have the figure of this polarimeter. You can observe. This is a light source which I have used here. This is a light source, and remember, this light source is a monochromatic, means single wavelength. Single wavelength, right? Means lambda should be constant, right? Lambda should be constant. This is a polarimeter, and total instrument is polarimeter. This is a polarized glass. With the material which is used, glass or material, any material you can use, like nickel prism, which constitutes some calcium carbonate crystals. So this is a polarizing material. You can use gratings, you can use glass. So this is a polarizer, which is a fixed instrument here. Now see, this is the normal light. Now it becomes polarized. This is polarized light. See, this is called sample tube. We have to put a sample tube here. Let it be, length of this sample tube is L, right? Let the length of the sample tube is L. See, this is plain polarized light. Now, when it enters in the solution having that optically active molecule, due to interaction with the molecules, slowly the angle of rotation changes here, and in the interaction with the molecules, slowly it will change its direction. This is the normal, this is the axis of polarization, and this rotates the plane of plane polarized light. Here observer or eyepiece is there, and it is observed that what is the angle through which it rotates the vibration plane of the plane polarized light. So this is theta, right? So see, every molecule interacts here. So the number of molecules present in the solution also responsible for the angle of rotation, theta. So theta is called angle of rotation. So theta depends directly proportional to the L, length of the sample tube, and theta is directly proportional to C. What is C? C is the concentration. C is the concentration of solution, right? And L is the length of sample tube, right? Length of sample tube. So theta depends on two factors, L and C. So means if you change the length of the sample tube, this angle of rotation will change. If you change the concentration of the solution, means if you change the number of molecules present in this solution, then also theta will change, right? So apply simple mathematics. You can write theta is equal to alpha L into C. This is equation 1. This alpha is a proportionality constant, and it is constant at given temperature with a monochromatic light. So T and alpha should be constant. So this proportionality constant alpha is called specific rotation, right? Specific rotation. Specific rotation, the name itself, it is clear from here that no two molecules have same specific rotation, because specific rotation is a particular value for a given isomer. So how this particular value of alpha you have to determine? By maintaining L and C standard. So under the standard condition of L and C, whatsoever the angle of rotation you have observed through this polarimeter, that is called specific rotation, right? So the specific rotation alpha t and lambda, this is equal to theta by L into C. See, when L is 1 decimeter, all of you should know 1 decimeter is equal to 10 centimeter. So if we take L in decimeter, it is in decimeter, and C is taken as a concentration 1 gram per decimeter cube, right? Suppose that we have taken C and it is better to take kilogram, not gram, so that unit kilograms per decimeter cube. Then the angle of rotation, if you take C 1 kilogram and L 1 decimeter, length of the sample tube is 1 decimeter, temperature constant, and lambda is constant. So the angle of rotation is called specific rotation. So the specific rotation is the angle of rotation caused by any optically active molecule with the length of sample tube 1 decimeter and concentration is 1 kilograms per decimeter cube at constant temperature, constant T, and with monochromatic light, right? So in this way, you can make the definition of specific rotation. Remember, no two different, because it is specific, it is a particular value, it is a constant value. So no two isomers have same value of alpha, right? And you know, this property facilitated the scientists to discover the new molecules, because you know, if you have a molecule in pure state and it shows optical activity, you should observe the angle of rotation, means specific rotation, and check from the database whether this specific rotation is associated with any molecule or not, and if not, means your molecule is new. So in this way, this measurement helps in the discovery of new molecules. So this is very, very important property. One more important thing, that if a molecule have D and L, dextro D plus and L minus isomer, this is called dextrorotatory and this is a levorotatory, and the molecule have same molecular formula, same connectivity, both have opposite property towards plane polarized light, one is D plus D minus. So alpha of D alpha of D or plus magnitude is equal to the alpha L or minus. Remember, for any given optical isomer, dextro and levo both have same specific rotation, but magnitude is same, sign is opposite. Suppose that the angle of rotation, specific rotation of dextroform is plus x degree. Suppose that it is plus x degree, then a specific rotation of levoform is minus x degree, right? Means dextro and levo of same molecule have same specific rotation but with different sign. One is dextro means positive and levo means negative, but the magnitude is same. So remember, this is very important property. Now the next question arises, what is the cause of this optical activity, right? Cause of optical activity. Optical activity means which property of molecule makes some molecule active and some molecule optically inactive. So cause of optical activity. So the main cause, or you can say important cause of optical activity, is molecular dissymmetry. If a molecule is dissymmetric, then the molecule always show the optical activity. This is very simple. So cause of optical activity is molecular dissymmetry. Molecular dissymmetry. Molecular dissymmetry is the main cause of optical activity. What does it mean? That is, molecule must divide the symmetries associated with them, right? So various kinds of symmetries are there in molecules, in crystals. So all those symmetries should not be there, right? So what are the different symmetries which are associated with the molecule? So I'm giving you just a brief note for that. We have different kinds of symmetries which are present with the molecules. First is point of symmetry. Second is plane of symmetry. Third is axis of symmetry. And fourth one is alternating axis of symmetry, right? Alternating axis of symmetry. So we have four kinds of symmetries associated with the molecule. See, point of symmetry, plane of symmetry, axis of symmetry, and alternating axis of symmetry. So out of all these four symmetry elements, the most important most important symmetries are point of symmetry, plane of symmetry, and alternating axis of symmetry. And axis of symmetry is not much important for the optical activity. We have many molecules, they have this axis of symmetry, although they are optically active. So we can say that the presence or absence of axis of symmetry hardly matters for the optical activity. Means we never go for identification of axis of symmetry, right? No need to go for the identification of axis of symmetry. So if a molecule may or may not have, means axis of symmetry is not much important for us, because if a molecule have this symmetry or without this symmetry, you cannot correlate always that okay, molecule is optically inactive or molecule is optically active. So presence or absence is not mandatory for optical activity. So how these symmetries are defined and how we will explain these symmetries, this will in detail you will study this topic in solid state physical chemistry, right? So I am leaving here this, and I am taking only those symmetries from here which are easily you can identify and apply for organic compounds, so that you can easily identify whether the molecule is optically active or not, right? So the most important is here is plane of symmetry, point of symmetry, and alternating axis of symmetry, right? But I am giving you one very important generalization, that the compounds that lack an alternating axis of symmetry are always optically active. Sometimes you may find that the lack of plane of symmetry and are nevertheless you cannot say that molecule is optically inactive. So sometime one or two may be present, may be absent, but one element of symmetry, that this alternating axis of symmetry, that statement is always true. Remember, if compound that if compound that compounds that lack an alternating axis of symmetry are always optically active. Remember this point. The molecule without this alternating axis of symmetry, they are always optically active. There is no doubt, right? And there is a correlation here. Alternating axis of symmetry is represented by Sn, right? Plane of symmetry is represented by sigma, and the point of symmetry is represented by I, and axis of symmetry is represented by Cn. So there is a correlation always. S2 is equal to I. S2 is equivalent to I. Means, suppose that a molecule has point of symmetry. Suppose that a molecule has point of symmetry, means the molecule must have this S2 alternating axis of symmetry. And one more correlation is there. S1 is equivalent to sigma, right? S1 is equivalent to sigma, right? So in this way, rather determining the alternating axis of symmetry, you just determine plane of symmetry. If you determine the plane of symmetry, and if plane of symmetry is there, means alternating axis of symmetry is also there. So now onwards, we will focus only to determine the plane of symmetry. If molecule has plane of symmetry, then it must have alternating axis of symmetry, or it may have point of symmetry. So in this way, we can correlate the symmetry elements with each other. So there is no need to identify all kinds of symmetries to find the optical activity in the molecule, right? So only plane of symmetry, if you identify, so by identifying plane of symmetry, you can explain the optical activity, whether the molecule is optically active or not. So what is plane of symmetry? I am going to explain you. And plane of symmetry. Definitely all of you are knowing this symmetry. Any imaginary plane which is passing through, which bisects the molecule in two equal halves, right? Plane of symmetry is any imaginary plane which bisects the molecule in two equal halves and which are mirror image of each other. So any plane which bisects the molecule in two equal halves, and they are mirror image of each other. Then the molecule is said to be, have a plane of symmetry. For example, we can start this from this. Suppose that we have a English letter word A, right? And if we bisect this like this, so just half is the mirror image of half. And one more property we can correlate here, that if we put a mirror here and its mirror image if we see, then the mirror image is same as A, and these two are superimposable also. So this is plane of symmetry. This molecule has plane of symmetry. This is plane of symmetry, which bisects this letter into equal halves, and which are mirror image of each other. And one more property, if molecule have plane of symmetry, its mirror image is superimposable, right? So if molecule has plane of symmetry, then its mirror image is superposable, right? So its mirror image is superposable, right? So plane of symmetry, this is very important regarding the identification of optical activity in the molecule. And one more important point I would like to share here, that this is very important point, and definitely it will help you in the organic optical isomers, that any structure that possess a plane possess a plane, comma, center or alternating axis of symmetry, alternating axis of symmetry can be superposed superposed with its mirror image, superposed with its mirror image, right? That is such a structure is optically inactive. Remember, any structure that possesses a plane of symmetry, center of symmetry, or alternating axis of symmetry means, if any one of element of symmetry is present, then its mirror image is superposed on its original structure, and such type of structure is optically inactive. So here we are getting from this statement, and this is proved by mathematical calculation and symmetry operations. So from here, this statement, we have one very important correlation. What correlation? Mirror image. Suppose that mirror image of any structure is non-superposable, means the molecule has ability to show the optical activity. There is no need to go for the plane of symmetry, no need to go for axis of alternating axis of symmetry, no need to go for point of symmetry. We have only we do just make a mirror image of any structure and do it test for superposibility. If superposibility test is passed, means it is superposable, means it is optically inactive, and if it is non-superposable, then it is optically active. So in this way, I have narrowed down all of your concepts like symmetry operations, different symmetry groups should be there. I have narrowed down all those to a mirror image. That's why we are doing always in optical isomerism. Okay, put here mirror and take it mirror image, and if mirror image is non-superposable, the molecule will show the optical activity. Similarly, see, if you have structure like we have many structures like if we have a structure like this. Which isomer is this? This is cis 1,2-dimethyl cyclohexane. Suppose that you have to pass a plane from here, right? It will bisect this molecule into equal halves. So this is plane of symmetry. And now see, any structure that possesses plane, center or alternating. So plane of symmetry is there, means its mirror image will superimpose on this, and this molecule is optically inactive. So straightforward, you can write here, this is optically inactive, right? Suppose that if we take another isomer of this, so here if you pass plane from here, this is not exactly mirror image of each other, means no plane of symmetry here. No plane of symmetry means this trans 1,2-dimethyl cyclohexane, this is optically active. So in this way, you can correlate with the mirror image and plane of symmetry. Either you can do with the mirror image or with the plane of symmetry, no problem, right? One superimposability test, I have made some figure for you, and how to check the superimposability. So in this way, you can identify whether the molecule is optically active or not. See here, suppose that this is a structure of an organic molecule. This is OH, this is OH, this is carbon, this is COH. I am coloring this with the different color, red, and this is what? Carbon, C, this is carbon, C, this is carbon, C, this is carbon, right? And this is OH group, this is OH group, and this is OH and OH. This is mirror plane, this is COH, this is COH, and this is COH and COH. See, the mirror image of this is this, OH, OH. If you put here mirror, this is called reflection plane actually. So you are getting the reflected image here. COH goes here, CH3 will come here. This is CH3. So this is CH3. So CH3, this is reflected. So in the mirror image, you may find that the molecule is reflected by 180 degrees. Hmm. And this is hydrogen. This is hydrogen. This is hydrogen. And this is hydrogen. Hydrogen go here, right? Hydrogen. So how to check the superimposability? See, you have to put these two carbon one another on each other. So if you put these two structures like this, so OH is superposing, means eclipsing with the OH. COH is superposing with the COH. But what about this H and CH3? See, CH3 is not superposing to the CH3. CH3 here, CH3 here, and H is here, and H is here. So you can say these two structures are not, they do not have superposable mirror images. They have non-superposable mirror images, means they show the optical activity. So if you want to check the superposability, take the molecule, draw its structure either in 2D or 3D, and make the mirror image of this and try to superpose on each other. And the method of superposing is this I have shown to you. In this way, you can make the model and try to check the superposability test. If all the groups superpose to each other, then only you can say, okay, this is superposable mirror image. If any one group is altering, means any one group is not superposing exactly on that, then this is not non-superposable mirror image. And if it is non-superposable mirror image, means it is optically active. What it means? Optically active means this molecule have ability to rotate the plane of plane polarized light. So far we have discussed in this clip what is optical isomerism. Optical isomerism is the ability to rotate the plane of plane polarized light. What is optical rotation? What feature of any molecule makes the molecule optically active, and what makes the molecule optically inactive? How to test the optical activity, right? How to check whether the molecule is optically active or not. For that purpose, we have certain symmetry elements like point of symmetry, plane of symmetry, and alternating axis of symmetry. Don't bother about axis of symmetry, presence or absence. Don't bother. No requirement for optical activity. You should only focus on three symmetries: point, plane, and alternating axis of symmetry. And if a molecule have plane of symmetry or point of symmetry or alternating axis of symmetry, then its mirror image is superposable and the molecule is optically inactive. And if there is no symmetry in the molecule is optically active, means its mirror image is non-superposable, right? So this is all about the optical activity.